Hello everybody, my name is Matt, long time no see. I know it's been quite a bit since I've spoken to you guys. Just FYI, I'm going to get a little bit of an update, but you can skip around in the timestamps below if you just want to watch my reaction to the Final Fantasy XIV patch 7.2 trailer, which just came out about an hour ago, and I was really excited. It's been a bit of an interesting beginning to 2025, ignoring all the hellscape of politics, but as some of you might know, if you watch my Hell of a Boss reactions, I've talked about it a few times in there. I work with children with special needs, and the primary student that I work with has had a rough beginning of the year. Luckily, knock on wood, we have found the issue. He had an undiagnosed medical issue that his parents discovered, and we have since fixed. He's been a lot better the last couple of weeks, so I have felt more relaxed when I get home from work or between my shifts, because I work in the morning and then in the afternoon with the break in between. That when I get home, I'm just not exhausted, which is why I haven't been making videos. I've gotten home in the morning and just want to eat lunch before I got to go back. And then in the afternoon, I get home and want to just relax till I eat dinner and then go to bed. So that's what's been going on there. So I know I did say I wanted to record some reactions to stuff like Arcane, maybe, or like maybe the new Castlevania. Just record that whole series because I haven't seen any of it. I'm open to some suggestions in the comments below if you guys want to see me react to something in particular. But today we're reacting to the new patch for Final Fantasy XIV. If you don't know, if you haven't been following the channel for a while, or if you only started watching with my Hell of a Boss reactions, I am a huge Final Fantasy fan. I have played and completed every single main title game, meaning like 1, 2, 3, 4. I've played and completed all of them except for 16. Just because, I don't know, it's hard for me to get through 16 because I don't like the combat that much. But I keep trying. You could ask my friend Howie. I have tried like 3 times now. I keep trying because I like the story. I just don't like the gameplay. But out of all of them, Final Fantasy XIV is my favorite Final Fantasy. And this is not someone who just started playing the series. I grew up with it, so I played. My first was 7, which ironically is one of my least favorites. Because I feel like the stereotype is everyone loves 7 because most people started playing with 7 first, and it was their first introduction to JRPGs. I liked it at the time when I played it, but then I played 8, which was fine. Then I played 9, which blew it out of the water, and 10, which is one of my favorite games of all time. That's my kind of background on Final Fantasy. Also, Final Fantasy X too. Don't let anybody tell you that game's not good. It is a 10 out of 10. It has the best job system of the entire franchise. And I feel like anybody who shits on Final Fantasy X too, just because it's a girly game, or it's like a magical girl game, or the story isn't serious, that's the basic bitch 13-year-old boy answer. Because not only is that not true, it is so wildly, demonstrably unrepresentative of what that game actually is. The story is serious. It's just a tone shift compared to what 10 was intentionally, and it works. The characters are great. The magical girl part of it, where they transform into their different classes, it's cool. I don't care who you are. You could be the buffest, manliest, manly dude ever. That shit is fun. And I encourage anybody who has played 10 but has not played 10 too because of some bullshit, misogynistic, machismo, nonsense reason to go and try it. Because it is genuinely... and I played it when I was like a full-grown adult, so it's not like nostalgia. It's a fucking banger 10 out of 10 game. But anyway, that brings me to Final Fantasy XIV. After finishing Endwalker, which for those who don't know, Final Fantasy XIV is an MMORPG. And for the first 10 years of its lifetime, it was telling one continuous story arc. And the current expansion is called Dawn Trail. The last expansion was called Endwalker, and in Endwalker, they concluded their 10-year story arc. So with Dawn Trail, they are starting a new story arc to last however many years. Now, don't look up opinions of Dawn Trail on the internet, because the internet is horribly stupid. Everybody knew. They told us, the director of the game, Yoshida, told us, don't expect Dawn Trail, the first expansion after the arc ends, to be as good as the ending arc, because it's not. That's not what it's for. It's not even being designed to be like that. It's a beginning, not a conclusion. But so many people are just stupid and expected the opening chapter of a book to be as good as the conclusion of a story that they are ragging on this game. There's also a lot of transphobia going on because the main character is voiced by a trans woman in English, and she's great. So all that together, people are unnecessarily harsh on Dawn Trail. I don't think it's like amazing. I think it's like a 7 out of 10, which is fine. It is what it has to do. It does what it has to do. It sets up the world. It introduces all these characters, all these plot elements, all these races, all these cultures, all these backstories, all these intriguing story threads, which is exactly what the very first base game did for the rest of the 10-year arc. It set up stuff that 10 years later was getting paid off in Endwalker. That is what the beginning expansion is supposed to do for a new 10-year story arc. So, I would say for Dawn Trail, my personal opinion is the first 2/3 is... the first third is good. It dips a little bit in the second third. And then in the third, it is stereotypical Final Fantasy fucking insane nonsense, and I love it. Patch 7.1, I wasn't super interested in because it's about a character that has already died in 7.0. And I know this is completely and entirely a subjective point. I know that. If you have the opposite opinion of it, it's totally valid. I'm not saying it's not. But for my opinion, 7.1 was largely about the secondary villain of 7.0 who dies in 7.0. And personally, under very, very specific circumstances, I don't really care. Like, if a story is like, here's a story, here's a character, by the end of the story, they're dead. Anyway, here's the next part of the story. Let's go back and revisit the backstory of that character who's dead. I don't really care, because I know that they're dead. I know what the end of their story is going to be. We got their motivations and why they're doing what they're doing in the base story before they died, so I know why they were evil. I know why they were a villain. You're not going to add enough context to make me care enough about them to go back and change it. With the one exception of something like Game of Thrones, where you hear about characters as like myth, but you never even meet them. And then you go back and you meet them in a different story, like House of the Dragon versus Game of Thrones. That I'm okay with. But in this case, 7.1 was about a character who died just immediately before. And I didn't care about it until the very end, when the main villain of 7.0, who we thought was dead, came back, and it was like, what the fuck is going on? Now I'm locked in. This is Final Fantasy nonsense. So I'm hoping 7.2 is more of that. I'm being vague on purpose about which characters I'm talking about, just in case you haven't caught up yet. But this is the 7.2 patch, so it's going to be spoiled for you anyway, but I tried. So here we go with patch 7.2. It was just released a couple hours ago, 1 or 2 hours ago, I said. It is called Seekers of Eternity, and we're going to watch it and react to it right now. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Since time immemorial, life has used death to facilitate adaptation in an ever-changing environment.
I don't recognize that voice, whoever was speaking.
The old and infirm are weeded out, allowing the species to thrive. Generational succession.
That's the new open area zone that's coming.
There are beasts ahead of you. They must have gotten in and made themselves at home. I'm detecting something. You'll have to deal with it to continue on.
I don't know who that voice is.
Even during the war, the people labored to maintain the castle. It meant a lot to them.
What was that? There she is! Sphene, you son of a bitch! Oh, this is the cosmic exploration?
We obtain more precise measurements.
Yeah!
Variables to avoid unnecessary.
As a crafter and a gatherer, I'm so excited for this.
Most expeditious course of action.
Oh, look at that.
Will do. We have enough to proceed with an analysis.
Are we doing Matrix Hildebrand now?
Died? Whatever do you mean?
What is happening here?
We ask that all recipients equip their regulators and promptly complete device registration.
Graha, woo! Let's have Jonathan Bailey back. I want to hear him back as Graha after all his success.
Ultimately,
Please don't recast him.
What you think is immaterial. For the seeds we've sown have
Oh my God.
already quickened.
I gotta pause here just to go back for this. For those who don't realize, this is the new trial that's coming in the fight. We knew about this trial beforehand, but for those of you who are Final Fantasy IX mega fans, this boss is modeled after fucking Beatrix. And I am so excited to do this trial. I just wanted to point that out. If you look at her, she looks like Beatrix, even with the hair, especially she with the giant sword. Oh, I'm excited for this.
The people have glimpsed hope in transcending death, and they
Yeah, new Arcadian, let's go. Who is that? Who's the scientist?
Of our kind is at hand. Together we shall rise above death and bask in the infinite possibilities of eternal life.
Oh my god. Who are you? Oh my god, that shot is so cool.
In your keeping, the key to interdimensional fusion. You will kindly return it to us. Yes?
Oh, she wants the key back. Okay, I know that the rest is just going to be what the announcement. Yeah, it's going to come out. It doesn't say. I think it's supposed to come out on the 25th, right? Yeah. Who is this scientist kid? And this is Sphene. I don't know who Sphene is supposed to be at this point. I don't know if God, they could go any direction with her. I don't know if she's like the bad part of Sphene that was cut off from the good part of Sphene's AI that we fought and saw in 7.0. I don't know if there's like Ascian shit going on because of the eyes. Like what, there's still a couple Ascians out there. This kid though is really, unless I am misremembering, I don't think we've met this person before. And this expansion is the Final Fantasy IX expansion. Without spoiling it, it is the Final Fantasy IX expansion. We have met the Final Fantasy XIV version of Vivi, the Final Fantasy XIV version of Steiner, the Final Fantasy XIV version of Garnet, which was Sphene, the Final Fantasy XIV version of Garland. Really the only major character besides Zidane, who Wook Lamont is kind of supposed to be a little bit like Zidane, where she's like perky and happy, and then she realizes the world's fucking terrible, and it breaks her for a little bit, and then she comes back, and she's happy again at the end, and she's more resolved. That's kind of Zidane's arc in 9. So I'm not going to talk about Zidane. You know who we're missing out of everybody important left? Kuja. And Kuja is, like, besides being, like, the big bad, you can argue that Garland might be the big bad, but I would argue Kuja is the big bad of 9. He's the reason everything's happening. Garland is like the manipulator behind the scenes who gets killed by Kuja in 9. Spoiler alert for a fucking 30-year-old game. Sorry. But Kuja, besides being the big bad, he's also like very smart, very technical. He's like a scientist. He created the black mages. He created the process to extract the Eidolons from Garnet. I would love if this kid was the Kuja analog in Final Fantasy XIV. This kid, we don't know how old he is, but he looks young. But I would love that if they go the Kuja route with him. And I know the new dungeon is just Alexandria Castle, which is super cool. I don't know what any of the bosses are from the dungeon yet, but like I said, I do know the trial is Beatrix. And yeah, much more than 7.1. I am very excited for this one because 7.1 dealt with, remember when I said the 3/3 of the original Dawn Trail? 7.1 dealt with like the middle third, which I didn't like that much. It dealt with backstory of the villain of the middle third. This is dealing with backstory maybe and also progressing the plot of the final third, which is by far the best part of Dawn Trail. And I am so here for it. So, any of my Final Fantasy fans, let me know your comments, your theories, your responses. What do you think of what my theories are in the comments below? Am I overthinking things? I don't know, maybe, but it's good to see you all again, and I will be back sooner than later. I promise it won't be that long of a break. I'll have to figure out what I want to do. But until then, stay awesome. Have a good day. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day weekend. and be safe. But until then, love you guys. I'll see you. Farewell.